Miss Darcy, I have attached the transcript of my R2 interview with inmate number 5007683 and doctored the submitted version as requested. I assume this is the last credit towards satisfying my debt. Sincerely, Dr. Ashley M. Clarke. Come in.
Dr. Clarke, I've got Barnes here.
Thank you, Brad. I hope it wasn't too much trouble taking the extra steps.
No problem at all, ma'am. In here, convict. Anything else, ma'am?
You can remove his restraints.
Doc, I'm not
I
authorized.
take full responsibility for this inmate and the outcome. Now please, remove his restraints. Thank you, Brad. You can go.
Doc?
I've asked too much of you already, and breaching confidentiality is unnecessary on top of it. You can go. I think inmate Barnes will be receptive to my goodwill gesture.
If you need help, call me direct. First, Doc, call me first.
I will. Please have a seat, Mr. Barnes. Would you like anything? Water? A cigarette? Terrible prison coffee?
Bourbon. Neat.
Not on the menu yet.
Worth a shot, I guess. Smoking a cup of coffee, then?
Do you know why I've asked you here today?
I want to have a captive audience for whatever the fuck is brewing between you and Brad, maybe?
CO Welker has been kind enough to assist me with a side project. Nothing more.
Hey, no judgment. I don't know what turns you into a slip and slide. At least it wasn't to watch him fuck me.
It's still early in the session.
Nah, you'd have left the restraints on.
Saw through me there. The reason I have asked you here is a simple matter of procedural box checking. The shareholders like to have a stamp of approval for liability purposes regarding inmate release. Your release has been approved, Mr. Barnes. Pending my stamp, you will walk out of the doors of this facility within the next 3 hours.
What's the vig?
All you have to do is answer my questions. I have before me your entire history on paper. School transcripts, mother's tax returns, medical records, military service, and criminal record. Frankly, none of it is in the least bit outstanding to me beyond the thousands of inmates that I have dealt with in my time here.
You wouldn't waste your time dismissing me out loud if that were true.
You're right. I wouldn't. Another cigarette? From what I see, you were an unremarkable student from a lower middle-class home. Your father died just after your 12th birthday, and your mother raised her only child while working nights on a production line.
She ran a 60-year-old machine that packed 10mm caseless rounds. The guy that worked a shift before her, and a dozen others, died when it finally ate itself. Mom got laid off.
Around the same time that you were expelled from School 21. Another student went to the hospital with a fractured orbital socket and a mid-grade concussion.
Timmy Blake. He caught my cousin Mitch in the back of the melon with a baseball. Mitch was asking for it. Timmy weren't a bad kid, but I pulled his card just the same.
You stood up for your family then? A matter of principle?
I guess. Mitch was always quicker with his mouth and smarter than was good for him, but people liked that little fucker. His old man, my Uncle Kevin, always thought that his boy was gonna be some sort of fucking star. I guess that's more the thing, like I was protecting a family investment.
And what about you?
The fuck do you mean, what about me?
Were you not also a family investment? as you put it. I am asking if your family, or even you, saw yourself as something worth protecting and enriching.
I know what you're asking, Doc. I'm just not sure what you want to hear.
I'm just looking for points of reference as to how we arrived here.
I was. Not like Mitch. Everyone thought he was moving on to bigger things. I was good with my hands, though. It was the first time anyone pointed it out to me. Uncle Kevin brought me to the gym and handed me over to Paulie's Skiff. Skiff had been Golden Gloves in the Navy and ran a ring downtown. He threw me in with a kid that was a couple of years older than me and watched me get my head beat in. Pissed themselves laughing. So Skiff taught me the science.
And that gave you value.
That was the first time it was noticed. For whatever reason, I was never scared of a beating. I don't second guess or overthink a fight. I was born a pit dog, and Skiff tied me up to the sled until the muscle caught up.
So your Uncle Skiff made you a fighter to channel your anger.
Can't make a fighter. You are, or you ain't. Thing that was building was an attack dog. Uncle Kevin rode for North Coast Blood Eagles, sergeant at arms then, I think. He'd seen enough to know the value of a Zulu fox. His kid would get out and be something, but his dead brother's boy could throw hands.
Zulu fox?
0 fucks. My hands don't shake.
So he used you.
Everyone's using someone and being used by 3 others. It's all part of the grind.
Truer words. So, your uncle opened the door to the gang life for you.
Well, being poor pretty much does it for you, but if that makes the pill go down easier, then sure.
But that is when you became a ganger, yes?
It's a stupid fucking word. I spent afternoons at the ring with Skiff, and at night I was a hang-around with the boys. They liked dropping me into scraps and taught me to ride. Uncle Kev put me on my first bike, a real dumpster baby of hot parts and exhaust tape, all Frankenstein and loud. I weren't even a prospect, just a tag-along, maybe a mascot or something. It wasn't bad, though.
You enjoyed the violence of it?
I liked life. Life has violence. Just walk to the corner and you can't miss it.
Well, according to Dr. Prescott's notes, during this time is when you met your wife. Let's talk about her.
Yeah. I met Tori a couple months before my 18th. Her and a gaggle of her dolled-up friends from NCU were dumpster diving around this shitty club, Cito's, I think. She caught my eye moving around the joint, but I knew she was way out of my league. Her giggle-fuck friends were all overdolled, and she was perfect. Naturally gorgeous, you know.
I've heard of those before. What happened between you two?
When will this bestseller hit the fucking shelves, Doc?
Your history is important here, especially the interpersonal parts of it. If I don't establish a correlation between your perception of your past with an honest understanding of how you arrived at this point, then I can't show your willingness to grow, to be...
Human?
I was going to say, part of society. My goal is to determine if you know that you are. Please, continue your relationship with your wife.
Ex. We were only married for a couple months. Tori was there at Cito's, standing at the bar after hours of dancing. She was still a 10 without trying. I saw her being talked up by this poser fuck I had tuned up a few weeks back, and she didn't seem impressed, so I took the opportunity. I was still a little lumped up from a scrap with some bangers, but when she asked, I told her I got my nose broke in the ring. The poser bounced as soon as he recognized me, and she stayed. We talked and drank right there at the bar like no one could see us, in our own bubble. She was a freshman and told me about economics and analytics for hours, me trying to not look like a drooling fucking fool the entire time. We got hot in an alley and went back to our lives. I saw her a few more times over the next few months, but aside from slumming and making out, it never got off the ground. Different worlds, all that nonsense. Then I caved in some fuckwit's skull and I was gone.
You mean you joined the army to stay out of prison?
I didn't give a fuck about prison. I knew I'd get here eventually. I got into it with some NorCal douche that stepped on my dick at a club. He squared up to impress his homeboys, and I beat him until I couldn't make heads or tails of his face through the blood. I had no idea that this suit was a legit vato. I left to keep the vengeance from the Blood Eagle's door. The army just seemed like as good a place as any.
From your records, it seemed like a good fit for you. Aside from some early infractions, or in spite of them, maybe. You were promoted fairly quickly. 6 years, 4 of them deployed to combat, 2 Purple Hearts and 3 Bronze Stars for Valor. You separated under an honorable discharge at the rank of Staff Sergeant. Tell me about that time.
It's all right there.
The records are, but we both know that isn't the story. I'm not interested in the Army's version. You spent almost your entire service time in former Kurdistan in a heavy assault and breach infantry detachment. What did that entail?
I was good at CQB. It's fast and violent, the type of shit you better have your balls screwed on tight for. A lot of door-to-door in the towns and villages. Towards the end, we were fighting from the mountains and tunnels and holes and shit. The PUK called us trench wolves, and the name stuck. That's the best I can explain it to you.
Because I wasn't there, so I wouldn't understand?
No, because it wouldn't cross your mind to go, so there's no reason to. There's nothing wrong with it either way, it just wouldn't compute to you, is all. As much as your whole thing wouldn't make a fuck of sense to me.
That's fair, I suppose. You mentioned that the PUK fighters were the ones that gave your unit the nickname Trench Wolves, and I can only assume that is where the tattoo on your back came from? It must have meant a great deal to you. You must have had a high degree of respect for them.
Are you asking or telling?
Asking.
The Peshmerga are hard as fuck. Fighting everyone on all sides just for the right to keep breathing will get you that. The world's been fucking them down since jump, but they wouldn't break. Most beautiful women in the world, too. Doesn't hurt that most of them's tougher than half our grunts. It's a fucking shame us dry gulching them like we did.
More beautiful than a business major from Night City?
Hindsight, I guess.
It was an attempt at a joke. A poor one. I apologize.
They can't all be gems, Doc.
You seem to excel in the military. Why did you leave it?
It ran its course. The higher you climb, the farther from the fight they keep you. I wasn't keen on sending other kids into the fight from the back. Didn't matter, though. I had debts at home.
How so? Do you mean to your family?
Mom was sick, and I had a place to be. Uncle Kev had taken the gavel and wanted to put a cut on me. Said I could take care of Mom until the cancer took her and have a life at the table. The day before I got home, his boy Mitch got rolled outside some swanky joint in the district and got zipped up. I went from the airport to his funeral. You changed, Kev. He never bounced back. Anyway, I spent a few months as a prospect, and the day that I was patched, I stitched on Sergeant-at-Arms. That night, I burned down the ganger's house that had stitched up my cousin while his crew were there. I stood in the yard and caught each one that made it out with a fire axe. Cops didn't respond until it was all ashes. Same night my mom went.
So, you were executing a street gang instead of being with your mother in her last minutes.
The grind gets us all. She knew her son.
That might be true, but it could be interpreted as cold.
Ain't it, though?
I see. Tell me about the time leading up to your involvement with the Red Chrome Legion.
I was busy. The Blood Eagles had lost a lot of ground, and Uncle Kev had lost his fangs after Mitch. I had brought my boy Gibbs in that had just come home from the army. He'd been one of my team leaders, and a good shit. I knew I could count on him from bang to body bags. We scattered gangs all over the streets. For a while there, the Eagles were the Vikings they started out as. Me and Gibbs built it back up on a pile of bodies. Uncle Kev had let us off the leash as he crawled into the bottle to drown. I ran into Tori a few months after I come home. She had settled on some rowing club polo shirt that she had met while finishing her master's. He had tied her to the trophy wife throne, and it muted her shine. She was still more than anyone could stand up to. We got to talking, and that led to hotel rooms in the middle of the day. Her husband caught wind and dotted her eye and tried to choke her out. I remember her at my door in the rain, sunglasses hiding the black eye and running mascara. That night she became a widow, and 3 months later we got hitched at the clubhouse. The RCL patchover happened before I knew about it. Me and Gibbs had brought some boys south to sort out some business when I got the call from Tori. She had taken to the life, and I guess was maybe more enthusiastic than was healthy. The next time I walked into the clubhouse, I was Legionnaire. Kevin stepped down, and Vinnie Pierce was at the head of the table to transition the Eagles to RCL. There were new faces, and our chapter became a cohort. Some of the older guys had chose to walk instead of patch, but a few of those were still around to hang. They were allowed to keep their cuts with the black line through the eagle. Pierce saw me for what I was, I guess, because he kept me in the trenches as much as possible. We had new enemies, and all rhetoric aside, it was business as usual, like changing units. Pierce knew how to play the game. He heaped praise on my boys, and before a year had passed, I was a Praetorian. We had barbecues and played at being family. Tori loved the life. She spent all of her time with the old ladies and started spouting all their shit out of her own mouth. I saw the darkness coming, but I was busy in those trenches. I pretended not to notice when the synth coke started to replace coffee in the morning and pills were being washed down with gin. I don't fix things so good. I mostly break shit.
You chose not to notice because you loved her?
Maybe. Maybe I always will. Don't change nothing. The grind, you know?
Was that how you broke from the RCL?
No, it was a while still. Tori had been spending more time at the clubhouse. Gibbs kept bringing it up, said the boys were talking. I was balls deep into it with the Mexicali crew that Pierce had pointed us at. I was at church less and less, and the boys were doing more time at my kitchen table than around. We were in between ops, doing regular rides in force. Then, one night, I get caught at a light and see some of these heavies with the Mexicali colors. I rope the boys back around the block, but before we get all the way, brrr, I catch a few in the back and hit the pavement. My jacket stopped a few, but 2 slugs got through. I'm laying there trying to get my body to work and coughing up blood bubbles. I could see half of Jimmy's face. High-velocity round caught him off a ricochet and opened up his head. Gibbs was over me, trying to drag me out of the street while laying out rounds. He jacked a car, tossed the driver a solid 6 feet from the seat, and got me in the back. He came back with Rocco and tossed him in the back with me, but he rolled mostly on the floor. Between the back and front seats, down in that hole, you know. I can feel gravel in my chest, but it doesn't hurt no more, so I knew it was bad. Rocco was already all plastic-faced. I knew he was gone. Another one caught in the grind.
That was... this ER report here. Right? Multiple gunshot wound, through and through. Right lung, perforated spleen, internal bleeding. You spent only 3 days in the hospital?
Magic of modern medicine when money's there, Doc. Pierce was there before I was out of surgery. Tori had ridden on his bike. He threw the cash down and I had a vat lung and spleen in before Rocco made it to the morgue. Tori cried too much. She was never as good an actress as she thought. Worse when she was zooted. I sent her home with Pierce. I think I knew that it was done.
She left you there? Just like that, and you were all right with this?
People are who they are, Doc. At that point, she was more club and junk than my girl. Pierce was the source of those things, and it made sense. I would have been a lot more broke up if it wasn't that's where I met Ava.
Ava Luisa Ramos, RN, formerly of NC East Mercy.
They really get all of it in there, don't they, Doc?
Tell me about her, please. I'm sorry.
Ava was warm. She made me forget about the fucking grind. I came back to that ER every day for 2 months, Doc, just to see her face, to hear her talk. She was so graceful. Even though she fucking hated me. It was the cut and the guns. Ava was hardcore about her faith in people, but she was just as hard-edged with anything or anyone that tested that. She saw me as the dog I was. Made me want to learn to not be a dog, you know?
That sounds powerful. I guess that's the only word I can find.
That's Ava, Doc. All soft and smooth and perfect, but just power. Fierce isn't even the word for her. She broke down eventually, let me see her outside of the hospital. She took me to fucking Catholic Mass, Doc. Believe that shit? I sat next to her mother and knew where that fierceness came from. Luisa Ramos, just hard as fucking granite. They lived together in something the size of our clubhouse kitchen, candles every 3 flat inches around the place. Fuck, she hated me.
Obviously, Ava did not. I have a copy of a birth certificate here for Lupita Ava Ramos, with your name over father.
Lulu. The only human to steal my heart. Right out of my fucking chest, Doc. I gave my heart to her mother, but Lulu just showed up one day and snatched it out between beats. I couldn't marry her mom. She would have been excommunicated for marrying a divorced man, you know? Past all the other fucking reasons. I got us a place, though. Left Tori with the house and passed Pierce coming as I was going. Would have pissed me off if I didn't have Ava. The night that Lulu was born, I get the call. I was all set to take a van down dockside and load some crates for the club. I was ready to rush it, try to do the job and get there in time. Gibbs tells me to go. He'll cover it. Go see your daughter be born, he tells me. He'll be there as soon as he's back. And I did. Last thing he ever said to me. He got chopped up with automatic sitting in the driver's seat of the van down dockside, my seat. While I held Lulu for the first time.
Did you know it had been a setup?
I knew. I just didn't know how or why. I thought about walking away with the girls, but too many had gone under the grind for me. So I went back to the table. I played good dog. There wasn't a single face of the Blood Eagles left at that table, all RCL. I knew I was on the clock, so I had to find who and just fucking butcher him, Doc. Had to make it known without a doubt. Then I could walk.
By my accounting of the timeline between your daughter's birth and the date of your arrest, you did this for 4 years. That is hard to understand.
Yeah, I was surprised too. Pack's empty. Sorry, Doc.
No, don't worry, Elias. I've got another here. Can you tell me about the night you were arrested?
I had pinned my sights on this kid Blake, Pierce's little cousin. Thought he should be Praetorian, club royalty and all that. I figured Pierce had to at least know, but whichever way it swung, the cohort would be stronger for it. I thought that all the way up until that chicken hawk little fuck got himself tossed in here just to get to me. Spent 2 months in solitary for taking his bottom jaw off, but you have all those records too, don't you, Doc? Anyway, I'm on the way back from dockside, van loaded with hardware. The irony of walking into the same that got Gibbs isn't lost on me, neither. I get a call as I'm about to pull out of the warehouse gate, and this motherfucker I've never heard before tells me to check my vid messages, so... My girls. Tied up, tape over their mouths. Eyes all wide, looking for me, maybe. A guy in an RCL cut pours a can over him. There's a match in front of the camera. All I could do was watch. My girls scream and melt and singe. I never made it past that gate. Cops was already there. 2 years for unauthorized transportation of untaxed goods.
What will you do when you leave these gates? How are you going to move forward, Mr. Barnes?
What happened to Elias, Doc?
It was very unprofessional of me. I allowed myself to get caught up in the telling. I apologize.
Don't. My name is Eli. Mr. Barnes died when I was 12.
All right. Eli. What is your plan?
Oh, a plan is just a list of shit that doesn't happen. I'm gonna give up trying to be a dog. I'll go back to being a trench wolf. Me and the grind will cozy up and see what gets sorted.
Very good, Eli. If you don't mind, I'd like to make another recording for the shareholders. There are some interested parties that would like to be the only ones to hear this version.
You're the lady with the power, Doc. Mind if I just make passes at you and talk about how killer your legs are?
I'd have it no other way, Eli. I hope you won't take it the wrong way when I ignore and rebuff your lewdness.
Yeah, it's just the grind, Doc.
Exit interview. Starring Ray Witte as Dr. Ashley Clarke, Ty Vaughn as CO Welker, and Joe Cliff Thompson as Eli. Written by Zach Hall. Dialogue editing by Rowan Odom. Sound design by Landon Whisnant. Produced and directed by Joe Cliff Thompson.